really know how this one's gonna go today because I am an emotional wreck. Cue the tissues. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Real Talk with Rach. I'm Rachel Elizabeth, and this is where we talk about real things. Even the things that apparently make me cry. But I promise this is a good subject and not a sad subject. As many of you know, I've been traveling by faith on this purposefully homeless journey since October 1st last year. Before that, I had some of the most difficult years of my life while God was stripping me of things that I was putting my security in that weren't Him, and stretching my faith and teaching me how to trust Him. And for those of you who know, when God is teaching you to trust Him, He has to take you to a place where you're forced to trust Him. And I'm talking emotionally, relationally, in finances, career, family, like literally everything. So check out my story. It'll explain a little more as far as timeline and why and what and OMG WTH. But just to avoid replaying that here, my story is linked in the description box below, and I want to tell you a little bit about what has come up the most recently. 4 years ago in November, I started dating someone who I knew within 15 minutes of meeting him, my life was going to be completely different. I'm not going to tell you anything like, oh my gosh, I knew he was my husband, or anything crazy like that. Not to say God can't do that, but that's not what happened. I just had a feeling that my life would be different. And again, that was within minutes of meeting him in person. We dated for a total of 7 months. And afterwards, I experienced one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life, and sharing that on a video is pretty vulnerable in itself, but that is not the deepest level of vulnerability I'm going to share with y'all today. So buckle your seatbelts. That relationship ending rocked me for so many reasons, but namely because that was my first real Christian relationship. It showed me that it was possible to be with someone who truly was pursuing relationship with Jesus. Now, he wasn't perfect, and neither am I by a long shot, but I was so attached to that relationship because it gave me hope, and for years beforehand, because of traumas I'd experienced, I attached so much of my value to the way a man sees me, and he was the first person who made me feel like he saw me the way Jesus saw me. Unconditionally, that he was pursuing my heart and my soul more than my body, which was all true. Fast forward to the end of the relationship, which was summer of 2015. That was the beginning of my own personal healing from my trauma through an inner healing prayer ministry called Restoring the Foundations, or RTF, through my church. And that was absolutely amazing because it freed me from so many things that I had been mistakenly believing as truths, but were actually ungodly beliefs. Like, God had no part in these things. But like I said, that was the beginning of my healing, because for the next 3 years, yeah, that brings us back up to 2018. For the next 3 years, I was taken through, let's just call it a journey, a saga, if you will, where I didn't realize that I was doing this, but I basically shut myself in and shut everyone else out, even though I was trying to date other people, because I had experienced what I thought was the most intimate pursuit of my heart in relationship, only to find out that it wasn't what I thought it was, and it led to the deepest heartbreak I've ever experienced. And it took me up until Tuesday, February 20th, to really realize that. And I want to take this moment, before I go any further into that, to acknowledge that it's only because of the incredible love of a father, of a heavenly father, of the most perfect father, that I was able to have the space and receive the love necessary to process, to examine my own heart, and to realize all of what I just told you. And y'all, God's timing is so unreal. It is so beautiful, because those of you who have been following my journey know that I've been in 3 different places in the last week. And before that, I was in a place where all of that old wound was reopened, and I realized a lot of truth that I hadn't seen before. I saw true colors that I hadn't seen before, or had been unwilling to see before. But after that, being in the 3 places that I was last week, I was surrounded by wonderful people, people I call friends, but they're friends that I haven't actually spent a ton of intimate time with, a ton of time being vulnerable with. And as an introvert, at my core, being around people didn't give me the space I needed to actually realize these things. But again, God knew this, just as He knows every detail of your life and every single need of your heart. God knew this, and He went before me as He goes before you. He knows every day to come in your life. There's nothing to be afraid of, because if He goes before you and He's with you, then there's nothing to fear. But He does bring you to places where you can process these deep hurts, and you're going to have to make a choice to enter into that pain and process those things so that you can heal from them. And He is gentle, and He will lead you in love through those things. But I'm bringing that up because God went before me, and He allowed me this space that I'm in, this hotel room, which I thought I was going to stay in for one night, which turned into 3 nights. Where I knew before I got here that this would be the time and the place and the space where I would be alone enough to really seek God in everything that I've just been through the last couple of weeks. And really, everything I've been through the last 3 to 4 years. And y'all, I can't be anything but honest with you, but in that, I have to confess that I haven't always shared everything, not only to protect my heart and my privacy, but also because, frankly, I didn't know these things about myself yet in order to share them with you. Or I wasn't even aware that I needed to share something, if that makes sense. So, I read something written by Ann Voskamp this morning that wrecked me, and it is one of the reasons, besides my spending time, sweet, quiet, listening time with God, asking Him to search my heart, and her words that really helps me process this. And her words were speaking all about how each and every one of us wants to be seen and sought after. Men and women alike. We all want to be seen, completely known, free to be completely ourselves, and not only unashamed, but loved. Loved for every wild tendency, loved for every crazy personality, loved for every flaw, for every bit of who you were made to be. The loud, the quiet, the too much, the not enough. We want to be seen for every part of us and still loved. The good news is God made us that way because He wants to draw us to Himself, and He is the only one who loves us like that, and who is always seeking us, and who always sees us, and who knows us completely and chooses us anyway. And y'all, that relationship, I didn't realize until today that I have unwittingly been hiding for fear that if I let myself be fully myself again with someone, with anyone, that I won't be pursued, that I won't be seen and fully loved, that I won't be pursued, that I won't be sought after, that I'll just be rejected again. And y'all, I truly don't blame this man. I know he's working through a lot of his own stuff with God. I know I am not the problem. But these things that happen in our lives, they're catalysts. They're catalysts to giant changes in our lives and reactions in our lives. And the reaction that happened in my life was this hiding. And I think I realized, reflecting on this purposefully homeless journey since October 1st, and even really the entire year before that, that it's only by letting someone truly see you that you can truly love them. Another way of saying that is truly seeking out someone to be vulnerable with, and to truly allow to be vulnerable with you and love them anyway, without judgment. That is what changes the world. It's been really hard since I left the stability of a rented room in a house with friends to truly open up to someone. Because everywhere I went, although they were amazing, God-given places, and I shared my story vulnerably, I didn't let them see the deepest parts of me because we hadn't built that relationship yet, because these were brand new acquaintances. And because I was only staying in a certain place for a day or 2 or maybe 3 at a time, we don't naturally open ourselves up to the degree that we would in a trusted, long-term relationship. But I think that Ann Voskamp was right when she was talking about the brave hearts that live open wide, regardless of the pain or hurt they may experience, are the hearts that change the world. Because how inspired are you when you see someone opening up and telling all and being completely authentically who they are, unapologetically, regardless of how much they might get hurt for it or be persecuted for it? How inspired are you to then open up more to the people you love? It takes a willing, brave, courageous, vulnerable example to set the world on fire. So with all these realizations, I thought I was going to cry a whole lot more on this video, but turns out I feel empowered. So let that be an encouragement to you. And I challenge you this week to be vulnerable with at least one person in your life. Share something that you have kept to yourself. Share something that you think is too much or not enough, and be honest about it. Now, disclaimer, don't just share this with anyone, although I think that would be the ultimate goal, because even if you're rejected for something that you share, at least it was done in love, and that is love. Jesus set that example for us. He was rejected, he was betrayed, but he never stopped loving and being completely himself, completely vulnerable, even when people thought he was crazy. And he did it all the way up until the cross. And he did it for you so that you could look to him as the example, but not just the example. He is love personified, and he is the anchor for your soul. When we believe that Jesus is the only Son of God who died on the cross for our sin, rose 3 days later, appeared to many, and ascended to be seated at the right hand of God, and he's coming again, and in the meantime that he left his spirit with us so that we could have intimate relationship with the Father with no shame and no guilt and no condemnation, like that is freedom. And he is pursuing your heart. He wants you more than anything else. And when you truly allow yourself to be loved, because y'all, we can pour ourselves out all day for other people, only to come back, find ourselves in a place where we have time to think and pray and realize that we haven't gotten anything back, because the truth is we haven't allowed ourselves to be loved, because it's so much easier to love than to be loved, right? To be loved, you have to receive it. To receive it, you have to realize that you will never be able to earn it. So you have to receive it with all your perceived flaws. You have to receive it with everything that you are and everything that you aren't. You have to acknowledge that you are loved just as you are. You are loved just as you are first by God. And it's only by realizing and receiving that unconditional, sacrificial love that you could not possibly ever earn, deserve, be good enough for, that you can then love other people well without being completely drained and left empty. Because God, he doesn't just fill you up once. Once you receive his love and come back to him, he pours out his love on you every single time. And y'all, it doesn't matter how much you mess up, because we're all gonna mess up. He's gonna pour out the same amount of love on you that he did the day that you felt like you were perfect, because no one's perfect and you never will be. And that is a huge relief. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary, and I will give you rest. My yoke is easy and my burden is light." That means he's doing the majority of the work. All you have to do is receive his love and obey his commandment to love other people. That is it. Y'all, that is the only commandment. Love God and love others. But we can't love God or others until we understand that he first loved us. So I just want you to think about that, meditate on it, hang on to that. We cannot love unless we receive from God. And we love it all because God first loved us. All right, I'll see you next time. I love you and I'm praying for you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Subscribe to my channel. Y'all, we hit 1,000 subscribers and then some. Thank you to all of my Patreon family. I could not do this without you. You are amazing and you inspire and encourage me constantly with your support and your love. I'll see you next time. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, comment below with where you're watching this video from. What city, what country. I'm really excited to find out where you are right at this very moment. Okay.